Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Napoleon Total, and today we're back with another Enlisted video. Today we're going to be doing Access Tunisia squads that are non-premium, and this is going to be part 1 of 2 episodes. The third episode has already been done, and that is part essentially 1, the first part of Access Tunisia premium squads. And if you haven't checked that out, please do check that out because it has contained some interesting historical aspects. But that said, I'd like to thank you all for your support as of these days, and let's get started with the video. The first unit we have up is the 361st Light Infantry Regiment of the 90th Light Africa Division. On June 26, 1941, the OKH, Army High Command of the German Wehrmacht, ordered the creation of Division HQ staff for Kommando Afrika in Germany. The planned division was intended for deployment in Africa to rebalance and add infantry troops to the DAK, Deutsches Afrika Korps, deployed in Western Desert. The formation headquarters was sent to Africa between late August and mid-September of 1941 and deployed to the Sollum area, with the first units and divisions were expanded to full strength and then becoming Division ZBV Africa. Training was completed in Bardia, and the division was earmarked by Rommel to lead the attack on Tobruk. On the 28th of November 1941, the formation was renamed 90th Leichte Afrika Division, 90th Light Africa Division. Although through its 5 years of existence, it will be redesignated several times, and although it has been, it will always be known as the Africa Division. Because it was the only German combat division to be fully raised in Africa itself. The 90th was involved in battles related to Operation Crusader in 1942, later in the battles of Bir Hakeim, as well as the first and second battles of El Alamein. In Tunisia, the 90th was initially involved in the Battle of Gatra. The 90th was regarded by the 2nd New Zealand Division, commanded by Sir General Bernard C. Freyberg, as their special foe, as the two formations faced each other on several occasions. In the final confrontation with the 90th Light Africa Division, General Freyberg sent a message to 90th the German division, stating, "Your position is hopeless. You have fought for 2 years, and we have no wish to annihilate you." The reply from the 90th Light was, "We appreciate your message, and we realize our position is hopeless, but we have a duty to perform." A direct assault by the New Zealand Division was checked, and a later attack by the 56th Infantry Division was also halted by the 90th Light, with British casualties among 63 dead, 221 wounded, and 104 missing. The 90th Light continued to resist the 56th Division, but was finally succumbed to attack by the 6th Armoured Division, as well as intense air attacks from the Royal African and Royal Air Forces. The division was overrun at 1845 on the 12th of May 1943, and it was granted an honorable surrender at 12:30 on 13th of May 1943, together with all remaining Axis forces at Cape Bon, marking the end of the Tunisia campaign. As with the other units of Panzer Army Africa, replacement units were quickly raised from available troops stationed in Eastern Europe, as well as the Africa Division was reconstituted as the 90th Panzer Grenadier Division in Sardinia. Following July of 1943, withdrawing and experienced troops from Division Sardinia, the division was then transferred to Corsica, where it abandoned the ground organization of the Luftwaffe and added regulars among Volksdeutsche recruits. The reconstituted division was deployed against the Balsta Coastal Road on the 9th of September 1943, where it will be involved against the Italians and the French troops in the liberation of Corsica. The division was then transferred to the Italian mainland from the Basta Birchhead on the 3rd of October 1943 and assigned to 87th Corps of Army Group C. On arrival in Italy, the 90th was deployed in Tuscany close to Pisa, and then moved to Gatro or Mare on the Adriatic coast, and on the mid-November to Abruzzo region as part of the Gustav Line defense. It was here that the division faces the first damaging battle in Italy during the Battle of the First during bitter battle with the 1st Canadian Infantry Division during the Moro River Campaign in late November 1943, and the Battle of Ontra in December. In late December, the division was moved to south of Rome in order to replenish and recover from these battles. 90th Division was then moved from the Roman defenses to Monte Cassino to bolster the southern defense of the Gustav Line in January of 1944, as the division assigned to the 1st Parachute Corps. On 3rd of February, Kesselring, Commander-in-Chief of the German troops in Italy, instructed the whole 1st Parachute Division to be moved from the Adriatic to Cassino to relieve the 90th Division. 90th Division would then be moved to the Adriatic to fill the gap of the 51st Mountain Corps left by the relocation of the Parachute Division. This proposed move was strongly opposed by Corps generals who insisted that the 90th has just beginning to make itself felt at Monte Cassino. The General Staff prevailed and the 90th went into battle in the following day. The 90th was involved in the defense of Monte Cassino during the First Battle of Monte Cassino and led the recapture of Monte Grave from the American 2nd Brigade of the 168th Infantry Division on the 7th of February 1944. During the second Battle of Monte Cassino on the 17th of February 1944, the 90th was attacked by New Zealand Corps, and they defended their position against the 4th Indian Division. Close hand-to-hand combat resumed, and the Indian Division launched 3 attacks against the 90th defenses. Battles raged around the Abbey for an additional 3 days, from which General Freiberg called off the corps attack. The 90th was then relieved from the Monte Cassino line after the 2nd Battle of Monte Cassino by the 1st Parachute Division. It was then moved to join the 51st Mountain Corps after refitting in Frostone. On the 18th of May, with the 90th reaching the Hitler Line, the 90th was then involved in the 4th Battle of Monte Cassino. By 4th of June, the 90th has been already fighting rearguard actions on the line of Ponte Ossen Trevera, with retreating further north. At the end of July 1944, the division was again relocated to Po Valley between Moderna and Parma, and then to Lugina and north of Genoa to regroup. After the Allied landings in southern France, the division was relocated to Piedmont to secure the border of the Alpine crossings from France to Italy. On the 15th of October, the division was then withdrawn from the Piedmont to orchestrate disengagement maneuvers and deploy as part of the defenses line in the Abruzzi Mountains as part of 10th Army. By November 1944, the division has withdrawn north and formed part of the defensive lines covering the advance of Bologna. At this time, the division infantry battalions were considered fortunate if they have more than 200 men. Battalions, holy cow. After a series of retreating battles into March of 1945, the 90th was addressed as a Field Army Group Reserve and put into reserve for rebuilding. The reserve was committed into the battle on April 9, 1945 in an attempt to halt a breakthrough by the 10th United States Mountain Division at the Po defense line, but were unable to hold against the advancing Allied forces. By the 25th of April, the 5th U.S. Army had 5 divisions near the Po Valley, and the 4th U.S. Corps cross-laid Garanda, using the fantails and duplex drive tanks to pass through the Berner Pass, which secured Milan. By the 28th of April, all passes providing a possible escape to Austria has been closed, and the 90th made a last great effort to keep their escape routes open for the divisions in the west. The 90th was forced to surrender on the 28th of April 1945, after the divisional commanders and her staff were captured earlier in the day, with the remnants of the division surrendering to the Brazilian Expeditionary Corps on the Via Emilia south of Lake Garda. But that is it for the 90th Light Division, 90th Africa Light Division, or 90th Panzer Grenadier Division, whatever you wish to call it. Next, we have the 10th Armored Regiment of the 132nd Armored Division, also known as the Ariete Division. On the 15th of July 1947, 1937, my bad, the 2nd Motor Brigade Mechanized Brigade was formed in Milan, with the consisted of the 3rd Ariete Regiment and other minor units. On the 1st of December 1938, the 32nd Infantry Tank Infantry Regiment, which by the way is also featured during our Enlisted Premium Squad, Tunisia, which if you haven't watched it, please do. And the 3rd Ariete Regiment, the 3rd Ariete Regiment was replaced by the 8th Ariete Regiment. Yes, that same 8th Ariete Regiment that we covered in the premium section. On the same date, the brigade was renamed the 2nd Armoured Brigade. On the 1st of February 1939, it was renamed once again to the 132nd Armoured Division, the Ariete. During the invasion of France, in July of 1940, the division was kept in reserve. From now on, the 132nd, as for me, is going to be referred to as the Ariete Division. After the rout of the Italian forces during the Operation Compass, the Italian and German transferred reinforcements to Libya. The Ariete's first units embarked on Tripoli in the 24th of January 1941. From February 1941 to November 1942, the Ariete fought along the German Africa Corps in the Western Desert Campaign. The Ariete was assigned to the on the 15th of August 1941 to the Italian Maneuver Army Corps, which on the 10th of March 1942 was renamed the 20th Army Corps. The Ariete participated in the Axis counteroffensive to retake Cyrenaica and following the siege of Tobruk. On the 1st of May 1941, German and Italian troops attacked Tobruk in strength. Their attacks pierced the Australian defensive lines, and the Ariete captured R3, R4, and R5, R6, and R7 stronghold points. On the 3rd of May, the Australians launched a counterattack with the 18th Brigade. The counterattack recaptured one strong point from the Italian defenders, the Ariete, essentially. This attack is also known as the Battle of Salient. On November 18th, 1941, the British launched Operation Crusader to relieve Tobruk. On November the 19th, 1941, the Ariete Division clashed at Bir el Gubi with the British 22nd Armoured Brigade and inflicted severe losses on the inexperienced British troops. On the 23rd of November, the 15th Panzer Division attacked the 5th South African Brigade defending Sidi Rezai, and that evening the Ariete came in support and the ridge was taken with 3,400 prisoners. On the 29th of November, the Ariete engaged the 2nd New Zealand Division at the Battle of Point 175, and on the 7th of December 1941, Axis forces withdrew to the Gazala positions on the 15th of December, where they continued to withdraw to El Ada. The Ariete retreated through the Dajab Mountains toward El Ada, and by this time the division has lost all of its tanks. In February 1942, the Ariete Division was reorganized and reinforced. It participated in the Battle of the Gaza on the 26th of May 1942, where the Axis went on the offensive, and in which on the 27th of May, the Ariete overran the 3rd Indian Mounted Brigade at Regbut al-Sada and captured 1,000 troops. On 29th of May on the 29th of May and the 5th of June 1943, the Ariete repelled British armor attacks, counterattacks to be exact. The Allied forces then surged forward, taking Tobruk, invading Egypt, and were stopped by British forces at El Alamein. Only part of the Ariete Division has reached El Alamein on the 3rd of July 1942. During the initial stages of the First Battle of El Alamein, the division's artillery was caught on the move by British forces, engaging in a flank attack and suffered heavy casualties in the ensuing clash. On the 30th of August 1942, the Ariete participated in the Battle of El Hafa, but the Axis plan to outflank and encircle the British forces at El Alamein failed. On the 4th of November 1942, during the Second Battle of El Alamein, the Ariete Division was surrounded by advancing enemy forces. Of divisions only the 8th Tank Battalion M and about 2,000 Balsarieri with 675 18 self-propelled guns escaped, but were overtaken and destroyed by British forces on the coastal road near Fuka. On the 6th of November, Rommel mourned the losses of the division, writing that in the final action as conducted was with exemplary courage, and that in In the Ariete, we lost our oldest Italian comrades, from whom we probably were demanding more than they, with their poor armament, have been capable of performing. The 132nd Ariete Armored Division was declared lost in wartime events on the 8th of December 1942. On the 21st of November 1942, the Ariete remaining personnel and the remnants of the 101st Motorized Division, Testari, and the 133rd Armored Division, Littorio, was reorganized as Tactical Group Ariete, which kept fighting through the desert, including successful rearguard action at El Haeda. During the Italian campaign of the Tactical Group Ariete was reorganized as the 132nd Anti-Tank Regiment, which joined the 131st Armored Division Senataro, and the last survivors of the Ariete surrendered with the last Axis forces of North Africa on the 13th of May 1943. On the 1st of April 1943, the Royal Italian Army activated the 135th Armored Cavalry Division Ariete in Ferrara, which continued the tradition of the 132nd Armored Division, albeit none of them fought in North Africa. After the announcement of the armistice of Casbella on the 8th of September 1943, the division fought the invading German forces south of Rome. After 2 days, the division was forced to surrender and disbanded by the Germans on September the 12th, 1943. On the 23rd of May 1948, after the war, the Italian army raised the Armored Brigade Ariete in Rome, which on the 1st of October 1952, the Armored Brigade, was then enlarged to an Armored Division, still named the Ariete Division. With their conduct during the West African campaign, the President of Italy awarded the unit, the 132nd Armored Division Ariete, Italy's highest medal of honor, the Gold Medal of Military Valor in 1950. The 8th Balsarieri, which by the way I already stated that we have covered in the premium section of the last episode, was the only other unit of the division from the Second Battle of El Alamein that was awarded a second Gold Medal of Military Valor for its services during the Tunisian campaigns. For those that are wondering, the division, the Ariete, is still active today. And that is all it for the Ariete Division, or I should say the Ariete Division. Next, we have the 36th Infantry Regiment of the 16th Infantry Division, Pistoia. The division's lineage began with the Brigade Pistoia, established by the order of the Provisional Government of the Grand Duchy of Tuscany in the 4th of November 1959. Sorry, my bad, it's not 1959, it's 1859, with the 7th and 8th Infantry Regiments. On the 25th of March 1860, the Brigade Pistoia entered the Royal Sardinian Army 3 days after the Kingdom of Sardinia has annexed the United Province of Central Italy, which include the Grand Duchy of Tuscany. Already before entering the Royal Sardinian Army, the brigade's 2 infantry regiments have been renumbered on the 30th of December 1859 as the 35th Infantry Regiment and the 36th Infantry Regiment. So the exact same 36th Infantry Regiment that we have right now. This 36th Infantry Regiment fought on the brigade with the rest of the brigade, fought on the Italian front in World War I. On the 20th of October 1926, the brigade resumed the name 16th Infantry Brigade with the 35th Infantry Regiment Pistoia and 36th Infantry Regiment Pistoia and the 66th Infantry Regiment Battalion. In 1934, the division changed its name to the 16th Infantry Division Pistoia. On June of 1940, the Pistoia was located in the Varta Valley on the border with France and served as the first army for the Italian invasion of France. On the 20th of June 1940, the Pistoia moved to the Madonna Pass with the division's artillery regiment ended up in French territory by July of 1940. On the 15th of January 1941, the division was then transferred to Casbria and tasked with coastal defense. In 1941, the Pistoia was reformed as a motorized division and renamed the 16th Motorized Division Pistoia on the 10th of October 1941. In September 1941, the division was then transferred to North Africa and took positions in the Barda, Sakol, Nartba, and El Haeda roads, guarding the supply line of the Panzer Army Africa at El Alamein. The Pistoia had to retreat when the British offensive reached it on the 11th of November 1942, after the British success in the Second Battle of El Alamein. After a long retreat, the Axis forces were able to re-establish a defensive line at the Marief in Tunisia. On the 4th of February 1943, and on the 6th of March 1943, the Axis forces commenced the Battle of the Mendine, in an attempt to disrupt the British offensive preparations. After the failure of the battle, the Axis forces, including the Pistoia, fell back to the Marief line, where the British resumed their offensive in the Battle of the Marief line. The Pistoia held its position until the 25th of March 1943, but then it was threatened by being outflanked, where its forces were retreating towards El Helma. The Pistoia fought at the Battle of Waki Ariete, and once again the Axis forces had to retreat northwards. By the time the Pistoia reached the last Axis defense at Effendale on the 13th of April 1943, it was severely decimated. On the 22nd of April 1943, the Allies began their final offensive in Tunisia, and after a few days later, despite some successful counterattacks west of the rail junction, the Pistoia was surrounded, and last of the division's units surrendered on the 13th of May 1943. The division was never rebuilt, and that is all it for the 16th Infantry Division Pistoia. Next we have the 754th Grenadier Regiment of the 334th Infantry Division. The 334th Infantry Division was set up on the 25th of November 1942 as a unit from multiple different military districts, those being 13, 17, 18 at the Galsen-Wafa training camp. This was really unusual since the three regiments, 754, 755, and 756, were drawn up from three different military districts. 754, the one that we have, is drawn from 13, which is Nuremberg, 755 from District 17, which is Wien, and 756 from District 18, Strasbourg. It had two infantry regiments, the 754th and the 755, and a mountain regiment and the mountain infantry regiment, 756. The division has already destined for deployment in Africa by this time and point. In January 1943, the division was transferred by ship to Naples to Africa to be assigned to the 5th Panzer Army in Tunisia. In a time where the supply ports of the Axis, as well as its forces, were threatened by encirclement in the winter of 1942 and 1943, its lead elements of the 754th Infantry Regiment arrived in Pistoia in late December of 1943, with the rest of the division arriving by 15th of January 1943. Together with the 10th Panzer Division, the Division von Monful, this division they successfully defended Tunisia and northern Tunisia in the run for Tunis, in which the Allies unsuccessfully ran essentially for Tunis. In January 1943, as part of Company Elibut, between February and March, the division stayed in northern Tunisian mountains and remained constantly engaged, suffering heavy losses amid heavy fighting in a series of fierce and costly engagements that cost the division a lot of casualties and that it cannot replace. The 334th was involved in the storming of Jebel Mansion in late April 1943. Of the division participated in the attack of the heights of Medjed el Bab. After a week of bloody fighting, the 756th Grenadier Infantry Regiment retired from the heights, which it has regained, and moved back from Tunis. The 334th Division was then separate from the rest of the army, with the volunteer organization Phalange Africani of the Vichy regime, which has been signed to the division's 754th Infantry Regiment and surrendered to Allied troops in the Beja area, on the 8th of May 1943, a few days before the fall of Tunis in the Brazaba bridgehead. After its destruction, the division was reorganized in Benelux, southern France. On the 3rd of June 1943, contrary from the first time, this time all of its troops came from military district 13, Nuremberg. On 20th of October 1943, the division was brought to Italy. After 3 months of intensive training, it became part of 86th Panzer Corps deployed in in the sector of the 10th Army on the Ligurian coast in the Genoa area. In early 1944, the division was part of the 51st Mountain Corps, relocated to the south of Presque to the Gustav line between Osna and Gardere, east of the Pajal Massif. It remained in Italy to the end of the war in northern Italy. Parts of the division were used at the Battle of Monte Cassino on the rivers Lisa or Sacco, and after the fall of the Gustav line, the division withdrew to Umbria. After the Parismeno line, or Albert line for short, the 334th was in positions southwest of Castigno de Lago on Lake Tramisno. After the collapse of the Tarzmeno line in the first days of July 1944, the division was involved in the retreating battles of Val di Cida and the Pagato south of Azido. Then the division was sent back to Genoa for rest and refitting. From the end of July to the end of August, the 334th was redeployed at the Reggio di Palo area south of Florence to fight partisans. At the end of August, the division was moved to the area south of Pato. Under strength, the division was assigned to 14th Panzer Corps in October 1944 and took part in the defensive battles of the Bologna area with a successful strength of only 6,600 troops, where it was subordinate to the 1st Parachute Corps. In April 1945, the remnants of the division surrendered to the U.S. 5th Army. Next, we have the 377th Fighter Squadron of the 23rd Group. Established on the 8th of July 1918, the 23rd Group, later 23rd Fighter Airplane Group, in San Luca di Palendo Travesso on the 7th of May 1923. It comprised of the 71st Fighter Squadron, the 91st Aircraft Squadron, stationed in Balsamo, framed to the 1st Land Fighter Squadron of the Real Aeronautica, which is the Italian Royal Air Force. In autumn of 1942, it was with the 7th Fighter Squadron, the 74th Fighter Squadron, and the 75th Fighter Squadron at the Capo di Lona Presno of Lona Prasino. In 1942, it was passed through the Newport 29, and in 1926 it received the Fiat CR-1. In 1938, the 23rd Hunting Group, Ace of Sticks, this same group, was in Spain in command of the Aldo Remedaro and the Legionary Aviation, Italian forces sent to support Franco during the Spanish Civil War. From the 3rd of June 1940, its fighter aircraft were upgraded to the Fiat CR-42 on the 10th of June. Right before World War II, 23rd Group has these following aircraft: 6 CR-42s for 70th Squadron, 8 CR-42s for 74th Squadron, 8 CR-42s, once again, for 75th Squadron, and it had an additional land fighter wing of unknown strength. On June the 15th, it was part of the Battle of the Western Alps, which was the Italian offensive into France. 25 CR-42s attacked the airport at La Consta de Maros. The escorts engaged in combat with the French fighter, losing 1 aircraft from each side and destroying about 20 on the ground. At the end of the month, it went to the airport de Cosme, where from the 9th of July 1940 it became the 23rd Autonomous Group CT. On 20th of January 1941, the nucleus and the 23rd Airplane Fighter Group was transferred from the deposition of the General Staff of the Real Aeronautica into the 556th Autonomous Land Fighter Group. In the same year, it received the MC-200, the Fiat G50, the MC-202, and in 1943, the MC-205. It was redeployed in North Africa at the Sidi Hasfaya Military Airport. On the 8th of September 1943, it was at Fubara Airport with the 70th, which had at this point 2 MC-2 205s, 2 MC202s, the 74th with 3 MC205s, and the 75th Squadron with 3 MC202s. The group was disbanded on the 14th of September 1943 after the armistice. The group was officially reconstructed on the 30th of March 1957, and it will survive until today. Once again, for those who haven't figured out by now, there is not a lot of battles that we have for this unit, and most of it, what I said, was confusing because I had to literally translate that from Italian. Yes, Italian. That said, very interesting group, not a lot of battle actions, and its fighter squadrons are quite depleted. But let's move on to the next one. Next we have the 1st Signal Company of the 1st Infantry Division, Superga. The division lineage began with the Brigade Basilicata, established in Naples on November 1st, 1884, with the 91st to 92nd Infantry Regiments. Some of its departments had participated in the Italian-Ethiopian campaign, leaving many dead during the defeat in Ethiopia. Subsequently, it also participated in the Italo-Turkish War in 1911-1912. The brigade fought in the Italian front in World War I. On October 1926, the brigade assumed the name the 1st Infantry Brigade. The brigade was the infantry component of the 1st Territorial Division of Torino. In 1934, the division changed its name to the 1st Infantry Division Superga. On the 10th of June 1940, the Superga participated in the invasion of France. The Superga advanced to the French village of Ariete on the 21st of June 1940, reaching the Balatares Pass and the Ariete summit on the 22nd of June 1940. On the 24th of June 1940, just before the armistice, the division attacked the Ovogrago Pasturoya fort on the Alpine line, supported by its neighboring fort Otravaga Andoza, and the other force repelled the attack. The attack was repelled. In August 1941, the division then moved to Naples. On the 23rd of November 1941, the division was to reorganize as a auto-transportable division of the North African type for the planned invasion of Malta, scheduled for December of 1942. Obviously, the organization had to go underway by March 1943, with the division's units based in various different places, while the command structure moved to Sicily in preparation for the assault on Malta. In November 1943, the division was then sent for Tunis. During the run of Tunis, where the British and Americans troops were playing a game who could run to Tunis faster, and landed at Bisteri on the 11th of November 1942, my bad. By 20th of November 1942, it was assembled at Envelda Airfield. By the 1st of December 1942, the Superga, together with the L Special Brigade, has moved to Suez-Safax area. From late January 1943 until 4th February 1943, it repelled an Anglo-American assault on Ode Le Corata depression. The second attack on the position of the Superga started on 23rd of February 1943. The division then promptly surrendered to the British on the 12th of May 1943. And that is all it for the 1st Infantry Division, Superga. Next we have the 200th Anti-Tank Battalion of the 21st Panzer Division. The Italian army group in Africa which was routed by the British Commonwealth Western Desert Force in Operation Compass, which lasted from the 9th of December 1940 to the 9th of February 1941 under General Wavell. The German Armed Forces High Command, OKW, Operation de Commando de Wehrmacht, decided to send a blocking force to Libya to support the Italian army commanded by future Field Marshal Rommel. The German blocking force at the time was based only on the 5th Panzer Regiment, which was put together from the 2nd Regiment of the 3rd Panzer Division. These elements were reorganized into the 5th Light Division, which then arrived in Africa on 10th of March to the 12th of March on 1941. From the 10th of February to the 12th of March on 1941. On the 2nd of March 1941, the first 8.88 anti-tank, anti-aircraft gun arrived and provided much-needed firepower. In April and into May, the 5th Light Division was joined by elements of the 15th Panzer Division, forming the Africa Corps. In late summer of the 90th Light Infantry Division was formed and joined the Africa Corps. On the 5th of August 1941, the 5th Light Division was redesignated as the 21st Panzer Division. Although the Deutsches Afrika Korps commander Erwin Rommel were under strict orders to maintain a defensive position, he attacked on the 31st of March 1941 with the 5th Light and the 4th Italian Divisions, which was a huge success. As British began to retreat, German forces will be pulling into Egypt after an advance of some 600 miles, which is roughly about 970 kilometers. After being renamed the 21st Panzer Division, the unit did not enjoy any particular success throughout the remainder of the year. The British regrouped and were reinforced by the British 8th Army, made up of 13th Corps and 30th Corps. 8th Army launched Operation Crusader on the 18th of November 1941, which forced Rommel to retreat to El Haida. By the end of the year, however, the British reoccupied Cyrenaica and would lift the siege of Tobruk. The 21st, along with the 15th Panzer Divisions, did score a notable victory over 30th Corps and in particular the 7th Armored Division on the 22nd of November at Ariete, and broke through to the Italian border, posing a threat to the 8th Army's overstretched supply lines, and was in urgent need to assist Axis forces around Tobruk, and which was being hard pressed by 13th Corps, allowed them to withdraw. On returning to city Reze, the division lost Major General Johann von Ravenstein, who was captured while doing reconnaissance during the 29th of November. And this is quite important because he was one of the highest commanders captured in North Africa. In the early months of 1942, the supply situation improved, and the British island fortress of Malta became under intense air attack, allowing Allied supply convoys from Italy to get through. The British Operation Acrobat was planned to drive DAK, Deutsches Afrika Korps, back to Tripoli, but a quick counteroffensive by Rommel surprised the British and pushed them back out of Cyrenaica. Reaching Derna by 3rd of February 1942, the 21st Panzer was on the linchpin of the assault. Just days earlier, the 30th of January 1942, Major General von Bismarck was appointed the new divisional commander. I honestly don't know why this is important but let's just keep that in mind. Gazala was taken on the 5th of June 1942, and during the battle from 20th to 21st, along with the 90th Light and 15th Panzer, broke through the Tobruk perimeter, capturing about 35,000 prisoners. As a result, the British 8th Army fell back. Fighting this time has taken a toll on this division itself. Along with the 15th and the 24th, they only had about 24 between them. 4/5 of their transport vehicles have been captured when they crossed into Egypt. The British then prepared a new position at Mesamatro. The 21st Panzer was then used to sweep behind the British 13th Corps, in which it was engaged in intense combat with the 2nd New Zealand Division at the Battle of Mesamatra. The British were defeated and fell back to the new line at El Alamein. In a series of battles fought in July 1942, the 8th Army was able to stop the advance of the Africa Corps at the Battle of El Alamein. Shortages in equipment, ammunition, and fuel limited further actions. Rommel made a great effort to break through the British positions on the 31st of August 1942 at the Battle of Alam al-Hafa, but the Germans were then again repulsed. On the 23rd of October 1942, the British offensive and the second battle of El Alamein began. The Germans were overwhelmed, and the 21st Panzer Division was reduced to only 4 tanks by the 7th of November. 4 tanks out of the entire Panzer Division. That's kind of sad. During the long retreat to Tunis, the 21st fought rearguard actions. To compound German problems, the Anglo-Americans landed in Morocco, Algeria during Operation Torch, and Panzer Army Africa was actually threatened with annihilation. By the time it reached Tunis, 21st Panzer has ceased to exist as a coherent unit, and it was split up into battle groups of Kampfgruppen. They were subsequently renamed battle groups Stankov and Schlüchten, which took part in the defense and the Battle of Kasserine Pass. Major General von Hausen surrendered the remnants of the division on the 13th of May 1943. In France, the division was reconstituted in the June of 1943 and was renamed, and where it was held for garrison duty until the Allies' landing at Normandy. Its 21st Panzer Division was then heavily engaged in the fighting of the Normandy bridgeheads, becoming the only Panzer Division to engage the Allies on the first day during the Normandy campaign. The division was then formed from the remnants of the newly created Schinzel Division West. Fast Division West, a newly designated mobile type formation that was intended to cover a great deal of territory of the Allied invasion point, that being Normandy. On June 17, 1943, it was upgraded the Fast Brigade West and assigned the name 21st Panzer Division in memory of the unit that had fought and captured and has been captured in North Africa. The division under the command of Rommel, yes, that same Rommel, who was responsible for German forces from the Netherlands and the Laurel. Rommel has been away from the front during the first days of the invasion, on leave to visit his family, and then he resumed command on the 9th of June. The division was regrouped with two Panzer divisions, 12th SS and the Panzer Leia, under the command of Stepa Dietrich. The division continued to fight as part of the front throughout June and July. Between 6th of June and 7th, 8th of July, the 21st Panzer reported the losses of 54 Panzer IVs, 17 Panzer IVs arriving as replacement. On the 3rd of July, as German reports stated, the following number of enemy tanks destroyed by the 21st Panzer Division, according to the weapon used. 37 were destroyed by panzers, 15 were destroyed by Sturmgeschütz assault guns, 41 were destroyed by flak guns and pack guns or anti-tank guns, 3 were destroyed by artillery, 5 were destroyed by infantry, and around 110 were destroyed in total. That said, on the 27th of June, German tank losses were similar in number. The last major action of the 21st took part on the Western Front with the stubborn resistance it gave to the British Armoured Corps Division during the Operation Bluecoat. On the 1st of August 1944, the surviving units of the 21st Panzer were then entirely lost in the Falsten Pocket. The remnants of the unit merged with the 16th Luftwaffe Field Division with 223 tanks, and the 21st and other divisions were captured by British forces between 8th to 13th of August. About 3/4 were abandoned or destroyed by their crews. In December, Rundstedt decided not to commit the 21st, which, by the way, the 21st was rebuilding again, being rebuilt. Rundstedt decided not to commit the 21st to offensive actions in Operation Wacht am Rhein, or Wash on the Rhine, or also known as the Battle of the Bulge, leaving it to cover flanking and saving it from total destruction. On the 29th of December, 21st reported the following strength: 72 Panzer IVs, 38 Panzer Vs, or other words, Panthers, 8 Flak Panzer IVs, and from January 7th to 21st, the 125th Regiment of the 21st took part in Operation Northwind. Okay. Aiming to sever the American supply line nearest to Strasbourg. On the 25th of January 1945, the division was then reformed as a much reduced Panzer Division and operated on the Eastern Front. The division then surrendered to the Soviet Red Army on the 29th of April 1945. And that's it for the 21st Panzer Division. That is all it for part 1 of this Enlisted squad history video for non-premium. Obviously this is going to be part 1, part 2 is going to be coming out quite soon. But that said, have a great day guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Now before you leave, I would like to thank you very much for watching this video. I would be honored if you could like and subscribe to the channel. Remember, more videos are coming out, so it is a good idea to click on that notification button. Anyways, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.